Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we embrace open dialogue from different perspectives about entrepreneurship, relationships, and education.
And this open dialogue is needed, especially today, as we live in a Twitter finger society where everyone seems to care more about getting their point across than they are about hearing the other person's perspective.
If you're ready to grow your business, your relationships, and your personal development, stick with us here at the Perspective Podcast, because sometimes in life, to get to the next level, you just need a different perspective.
If I look like what I've been through, I'd be roadkill. Tell me off of the pavement, I'm reeking from the...
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. I'm C. Mouzon, got T here with me. Say what's up, T.
What's going on, family?
Guys, we are back. We're excited to share another perspective with you. Again, thank you for everybody that's been tuning in. We've had some great guests on. I know we've gotten some good feedback from you listeners and the people that are watching us right now, that the information has been good. So again, continue to like this, share this with a friend, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not subscribed to the YouTube channel, because again, we're trying to get this in front of as many people as possible.
Oh yeah.
So that we can help people understand that, right? It's not right or wrong. It's just about your perspective. That's it. So we're here. We're having another conversation. T and I were chatting again yesterday. Just kind of thinking about, and you guys know by following us that we often do this, is start paying attention and kind of talking and listening. I think my daughter just threw something up here. Anyways,
she's like, okay, Daddy, you told me not to come in the room, but here you go. I can throw this in the room. You didn't say don't throw it.
Something hit the wall randomly. Anyway, we were prepping for this call last night, kind of having a conversation about what we're seeing out there and feeling in this stock market, right? We dove into the cryptocurrency side a few months ago. We talked a little bit about AMC, right, and some of the other kind of back end things that are happening in the market with some of these other stocks. But I think we just wanted to have a conversation today about just kind of the macro picture and some of the stuff that we're seeing. You know that, right? I'm in the financial services space, and T is, around the money a bunch as well. So we do have a few different, perspectives on what's happening right now in the stock market. But there's been some recent articles that have come out, and I told T this last night. I was like, man, I'm not always the guy to come in with the fear and just be like, the market's gonna crash, right? Watch out, because I've put that out there a bunch. And of course, we know everything that goes up must come down, but we've been on this incredible run over the past 11 or 12 years or so, really about 12 years or so, where the stock market has just continued to go up. But now we're seeing some signs, some real signs that it's not gonna last too much longer. Yeah. And some of the bigger name people, I don't know if you read this stuff, T, but some of the bigger name people, the Robert Kiyosaki's, the Michael.
He's always ready for the market to crash.
Always ready. Michael Burry, who's the dude that was on
the Big Short guy.
The Big Short, right? Just all these investors, and the billionaire investor, the traditional investors, they're the ones saying like, listen, this is not going to last. They all have their reasons as to why, but we're really sitting in a huge bubble, from retail investors to the real estate market to all these different types of things that are brewing. And it's a cause for concern for me. I know it's a bit of a concern for T. So we just wanted to talk about it, because I think a lot of people aren't paying attention necessarily to the potential downside. Right, we're very good at remembering the upside and diving in on how good things could be, but I don't think that we pay enough attention to the downside. So, give me some of your thoughts, T, on like what you've seen so far out there, or if you've read that article or anything.
No, I don't. The specific article, no. But I mean, look, we're at a place now where something's going to happen, right? Like, there's going to be a correction. Now, here goes the part, like, the news sensationalizes things. We talk about this all the time, so we have to say this, right? The news sensationalizes things. So it's like pending market crash. Well, it's really probably could be a potential just major correction, which is actually normal, right? Like, so one of the things that, if you look at like even the S&P, right? Everybody talks about the S&P 500. There's a natural 10 to 30%, well, it can even be more, plus 10% recovery, like not recovery, like reversal correction every 22 months. Like, so it just happens, right? These things naturally happen. The problem that I see is you have a lot of consumer optimism during a time where we should probably be a little bit more cautious for the state of things. And the economy wants to keep on chugging along, right? Like the businesses want you to spend. The government is starting to like be ready to pull back. I just heard student loans should be starting back. Federal student loans should be starting back September, October. So that's what, 5 more months or 3 more months or whatever it is, August, September, October, right? So 2 to 3 months. So you got student loans about to start back up. You have some states already taking away the benefits, like the additional benefits, because they're trying to get people to work, right? Because people are making more money sitting at home than they were actually working. You have inflation going up. You have massive amounts of debt just taken on because everybody went out, not everybody, but a lot of people went out and bought houses. And I was in the car side of things, and I watched a lot of people come through and buy inventory to the point of where there is a major inventory shortage in the auto industry right now. On the used car side. Yeah. There's a major manufacturing shortage because there's a chip shortage on the new car side, right? So people are literally begging to spend the most amount of money possible. I have a friend that was looking to sell his house. He was like, if I get $250, I'm great. Well, he got $380 offered. Right? Like he's like, cool, like, you know what I mean? Like he doesn't need the house anymore, right? It was a rental property. He's like, I'm trying to deal with the rental aspect of it, a single property. He's like, yeah, I'll take an extra $30,000, right? Like, so all these things are happening, and banks are slowly, as Chris is starting to allude to, prepare themselves. And we're not even going to talk about my favorite stock in the whole world right now, AMC, and other people's GameStop, and how if that happens, it can take the economy, because everybody's going to have, not everybody, but the big hedge funds and banks are going to have to cover and account for that money. And people like myself are going to get really rich. Like, I could say that, like, really rich. It gets to $1,000 a share, $5,000 a share. Your boy coming on here, and that ain't gonna be a fake background. Right? I'm gonna start shooting some of these things at actual places, right?
I get it.
But
I think that's, and I'll stop because I know we've had the conversation, but I think there's too many people sitting in that place of being hopefully optimistic that like the things will happen, and too much of their money is there.
Yes.
And like you said, most people can't stomach these changes, these dips, because at the end of the day, and really what I've always said is like, you have less control than you think. Right? You have less control over that money. I've had a couple clients over the past week that or 2 weeks or so that we've actually had a similar conversation, that like they have some investable capital, right? They have some money that they can invest, and they're kind of going through that process of like, all right, what should I do with it? And I said, in times like this, you want to have as much control over that money as possible. That's it, right? Don't put it in places that you have less control over. You need to be able to dictate it, because otherwise you're just riding this roller coaster, riding this emotional, right, roller coaster with everybody else. And again, a lot of people are optimistic, but then there's another group of people that are becoming more and more silent, because they're slowly losing more and more and more, and they can't handle it. They can't handle it, right? So they will wind up pulling out. They will wind up selling. They will wind up
too early, way too early.
Of course.
Like, and that's the thing. Like with the market, like these dips are going to be good. Like, I mean, good in the sense of, if you have the knowledge. Like I've taken the approach of, I'm optimistic because I'm studying. I'm more optimistic because I'm learning more, right? Like I'm more optimistic because you start learning like skills or, okay, if this happens, how do I hedge, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, how do I, like all these things are happening. And so there is going to be a correction in the market. Like, just so you guys know, there is going to be possibly some housing issues, just so you guys know. Like, there is going to be some inflation where, like, if things break below a line and they're like, hey, we gotta let this ride out. If the Fed comes back and says we can't print any more money, we gotta let this ride out a little bit. We gotta let this normalize. Like, trust, these are managed things that they will do when the market, when the economy like steams up. And I'm using economy and market, these are separate things, right? Like when these things heat up, they have to cool off. But the problem is, like you said, Chris, the emotion, once they have to cool off, people were so optimistic and so hopeful, and then they bet big at the wrong time, right? Like, I have friends that are sitting at home essentially waiting till all of their dry powder, their savings run out before they go back to work. And companies right now are like, please come back in. Even companies like myself, I'm like $10,000 sign-on bonus, like 10 racks, like legit 10 racks to come sign on.
By the way, like, this might be another episode that we need to start having or talk about. Maybe we can fit it in here. But like, there's going to be some real repercussions from this kind of teeter-totter war between employers and employees.
Oh yeah.
There's going to be some real stuff there, because I was just talking to some people in the restaurant space. Like, if people don't come back to work, like, best believe that like not every restaurant's going to go out of business, or
they're going to figure it out without you.
Exactly,
they're going to figure it out without you.
It's going to happen in every industry. Like, these employees want to keep playing around. You keep playing around all you want. There's going to be technology and AI and robots and people from outside of this country that gladly want to pick up this work, and you will not have any jobs. Right now there's an abundance of jobs to have, but you keep playing around with it, there will come a time they don't need you anymore. So anyway.
No. Yeah. And I'm glad you, like, there's not going to be one event that causes anything. Right. Like, what me and Chris are saying right now is like, we're not being doomsday. I'm not like, this is one of the first times, like, I'm like, okay, I've lived through one of these before, but it was fresh out of college. I didn't know what the hell was going on. Right. Now I'm like, okay, this might happen again. Well, it's going to happen again. I'm mentally like, where's my money at? Do I have something that can run up? Can I get cash? And now what can I do once things starts bottoming out? Like, can I start catching stuff on sale now? Like, I'm waiting for it. Like,
that's the plan. And good old Mike Tyson, everybody's got a plan till you get punched in the mouth, right?
Right, that's the plan. So now what do you do? Right. So you talk about this, right? So in the car industry, I switched industries. Right? I switched industry. It wasn't just about like better opportunity. Yeah, that's good. But you better trust to believe. I thought about industry, right? I thought about stability. Like, I thought about like, okay, where's stability, right? Because you got to have your own stability for you and your family, whatever that looks like, right? Everybody's a little bit different with that. So I'm like, industry, is this going anywhere? Nope. Is this pandemic proof? Yep. Is technology going to do it? Probably 20, 30 years from now. Got a lot of time before it starts making consistent headway. Are there other market opportunities that we can still get into if things go sour what we're doing? Yep. Hey, like, you know,
most
people start structuring.
Most people aren't as strategic as you, T. They're like, most people are sitting in.
That's why we have this podcast. This is what we're talking about.
I know.
Right? Like, when this stuff happens, are you thinking about your job? Like, are you sitting on the couch right now, like, waiting for your savings to run out before you decide to go back to work? There may not be an industry the way you wanted it to go back into work into. I don't care how big it is. Like, Carvana just showed you they can sell 100, 200, 300,000 cars a year without even salespeople, without all this middle manager. They just drop it off to your house, and customers are like, yeah, they have to deal with a salesperson. And I'm sitting there like, whoa, okay.
I'm worried for people, right? I'm worried for people because they're spending more time paying attention to their vacations and where they can get these last minute tickets and things like that, and not thinking about like like the whole bottom could fall out, right? Like again, back to some of like what the investors and right, some of the people in the industry have been saying, like this could be one of the biggest crashes ever, right? Because there's so many different things conspiring, and we never know what triggers it. We never know what it'll be, but something will trigger it, and it'll fall faster than you know it. And people that have money in the market, and right, like I think of it for like the retiree, that I really like, we can have the conversation about like the, you know, the average retail investor right now,
which is like 20, 30 years old.
Right.
Like they got time to mess up and do it again.
Right. They're going to get punched in the mouth. They're going to be staggered. They're going to get knocked. They're going to learn the lesson, hopefully. Yeah. I think it's going to come with some emotional things where people are going to swear off the stock market for 4 years or something. Like, I'm not that hurting.
This is what they did with real estate. Now they went out and bought houses 2 times more than they should have bought them.
Exactly. For. Right. And then once taxes come down the pipeline with that, right? Like capital gains and all these types of things that start to happen, that like start to let you see that like it's not just that easy to get to that next level. It's not as easy as people think, just because you have a vehicle that potentially grows some money or an asset class that potentially makes you a little bit of a profit. These are the times when you really start to see what investing really means, what it really means to build, to have a wealth strategy or something that you're going to compete or do for the long haul, right? And that's what I think will come out of it for that 20, 30, mid 30s, early 40s group, is like they're really going to understand some things afterwards. I'm scared and nervous for the 55 plus, right? That are getting sucked into this also, because they are also getting sucked into this side, and they don't have the money to be, or the time to be able to bounce back when this correction happens, right?
Listen, look, will it happen? Yes. Will it be catastrophic? We don't know. Will it happen? Yes. There's so many signs: inflation, jobs, well, maybe lack thereof jobs. They already talked about universal pay. Why do you think the government is starting to really start to push this thought and idea of universal pay, which is nothing but like government assistance, generally speaking, for most people? Right. Why? Because they are looking in the future. They're seeing the technology. They see the risk of you not being able to have anything and me not having anything to go back to, and they still want the economy to go. If people don't have jobs, they don't have money to put into the economy. They want this thing to still happen. Like, capitalism must still go. So how are we preparing?
Yep. How
are we thinking about this, right? Like, these things are going to happen. The real estate market, it's going to cool off. The stock market, it's going to cool off. It's too much. It's over. The valuations are too high. The S&P is breaking. It's running. What's it called? It's a P&E. It's considered, hold on, I'm still learning this, I want to make sure I get my terminology right. It's called, for the S&P right now, I got this article from NASDAQ.com. So legit, the Shiller's price to earnings, PE ratio, it's been running at 37.53. Now, people are like, what does that mean? That means nothing to them, right? Over 30, every time since 1870 that it's ran over 30, it's at 37 for a significant amount of time. It's had a 20 to 89% drop in value.
Yeah. And this is where, again,
think about that.
But think about this. This is where retail investors right now don't care. This is all the fundamental stuff that the old guys have been telling us and talking about. Like, listen, you just go off the fundamentals. This is what it says. This is the history will predict the future, right? Like, this is what's going on.
Yes.
And everyone that's now retail meme stock come in, right? That doesn't matter. You don't know what you're talking about. All right.
Yeah. And here goes the thing. There's some stuff, like I talked about with AMC. It's not a fundamental play. It's we caught you with your pants down. Right. You got caught. Now we can put pressure on you. Like, that happens. It's like in the 80s and 90s when they had the corporate takeovers. Sure. Like when somebody would buy out the stock and they come over. That wasn't fundamentally based like how you buy a company. That was like, we caught you and we took advantage of you, right?
Right.
But now here goes the thing. There's not a lot of those plays. Like, these are like one-offs. These are like you got a winning lotto ticket, like legit, like these are not normal, and you never know how good it's going to be, because it's like having a lottery ticket, but whenever you turn it in, that's when you find out the price of what you won. You might have it in. At one point, it might be worth $5 million, and next thing you know, you go in, it's like $5. You're like, hold up, it's a winning lottery ticket.
and people are using that as their strategy.
No, hope is not a strategy,
times.
bro.
That's what's happening out there.
Hope is not a strategy.
No kidding. But that's what's happening, and that's what is worrisome. Looking at the market, looking at the macro picture of like all the stuff that's going on, and we just got away from it. But I'll go back to it. Like, even what industry you're in, what job do you think you're going to have, or what business are you going to be in that you believe will make it through when the market corrects, right? What does happen in the real estate? What does happen in your industry, in restaurants or in the car industry? Like, what happens? Do people lose their jobs? Do more jobs open up? Right?
Are there different jobs in that industry that become more valuable? Right? Like you talk about the car industry. People right now are begging for mechanics. Mm-hmm. But most people don't want to be a mechanic. They don't want to be a mechanic. But the mechanics are going to be there. Mm-hmm. Like, we're not stopping our cars being made. They're just changing the type of cars that are being made. Right. So there's other opportunities, but like, what are you willing to do? Like, are you willing to invest the time to learn? Like this is a very, very serious topic. And that's why we want to talk about it, because we're not perfect. We don't know everything. Chris talks to a lot of different people. I talk to a lot of different people. So we sometimes get like perspective on a lot of like different things happening. We read, we do all these things that everybody else can do. And that's why we want to share it, to say, like, we want you to stop, think for a second. What do I have? Do I have savings in a case of emergency? Do I, am I looking long term? Am I trying to like chase, like, get rich quick rather than get rich for sure? Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's different mindsets of how we do it. Look, I'm guilty of it as well. Like, look, I want it to be a $56 million hit. Boom, I got my money. Then I can be like, all right, Chris, hey, here, take 40 million, man. Do what you need with it. I know you're gonna make your money off of it. Put my money away. I don't have to think about it. Set my family up, and then I go continue to do my thing. But if it don't happen that way, like, now what? Like, you know what I mean? That'd be pretty. That'd be cool. Chris, I'm pretty sure, be like, cool, I got you, T. Like, I'll help you with 40 million and put it away and make sure everybody's cool and taken care of. But if it doesn't happen that way, now what?
Yeah. And that's
because it's coming. Like it's coming. Like, Mark, what's today? Whatever date it is, right? Like, it's coming.
Yeah, I mean, this will be mid-July when this drops, right? Like, but like, at the end of the day, it is coming, and we just want people to be prepared. If that means you need to retool yourself, that means you need to get a new skill set. You cannot be scared to get a new skill set. Yeah. Right? So many people are fearful of picking up new skills. Yeah. I really.
Why is that? Let's talk about it. I think I have some answers, but what's your thoughts on that? Like,
my thesis is everything comes from the employee mindedness. Right. Like, and once we're out of school, so there's two sides that I think to this. It's either once we're out of school, we actually don't want to learn outside of that context of school. We forget that, like, being lifelong learners and adding new skills and all those types of things are important, because we still think of school like in this box of like, I got to go back to school in order to learn something. Like, I got to go back to the institution to learn. And that mindset right there, it causes people to be like, I don't know what I want to do. And if the only options I have are going back to school,
and some people don't want to go back to school. Like, right. Like, I don't want to go back to school.
So then they stop like thinking that they can like change and try and do all those other things. The other side of it is, I think people struggle being a novice again, or being like getting back to a place. There's something in our ego and pridefulness that when you are 39, I've learned all of these things. Like, why should I start at zero again?
I should have my life together by now. I had somebody say that to me. I'm like, what you mean? Like, I should, like, why should you? Like,
Like it's all thrown off. So like,
Yeah.
I think it's a combination, in my opinion, it's a combination of those two, the employee mindedness that we get from school that causes us to only do that, or I don't want to take a step back. I just want to, that's a better way to say it. Most people just want to take steps forward. They don't want to ever feel like they're taking a step back. And sometimes when you're retooling, you have to take multiple steps back in order to move forward. I don't think people want to do those.
And my encouragement is always been, you're never taking the same amount of steps back as if you were starting, because you still have all of your knowledge and your expertise. Like, if that was the case, I would have never taken the position I have now.
Exactly.
Like never. Like never.
Yeah.
Like I'm like 20 years off. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Of like what I should be like. My guys are always telling me, hey, Troy, this is how fit. This is what's really going on. I'm like, oh, my bad. Right? You know what I mean? Like, you, again, like, this is a two-part conversation. Market crash is coming. We've given reasons behind it. Stock market, right? Many things, inflation, jobs, new technology taking over, taxes going to be readjusted, possibly political chaos, like geopolitical chaos. Like, Biden just went at Russia, like, hey, I'm not Trump, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm gonna tax you. Look, there is a political, like, there is a political theory out there that says Republicans want it all to burn. Right? Like, some Republicans really want it all, and somebody's gonna be a Republican. Like, that's not true. I said it's a theory out there, right? And I'm not Democrat or Republican, just so you know, I'm independent, right? Like, I can't even vote in primaries in my state because they're like, you're independent, you can't vote, you can't get in the primaries, right? I'm like, whatever, because I'm independent, right? They're like, you don't belong to anybody. I'm like, nope, I don't. But anyways, but they say they want it to burn because they want to, like, take back power, right? So you got this political agenda to make it burn so somebody else can seize power. You got, like you said, geopolitical forces that are happening. You got all these things. How much it falls, the economy falls along with the market, we don't know, but are you prepared for it? But in the longer game, are you prepared for everything that's going to happen? What happens when you're ready to go back to work and you're like, I deserve to be paid more? And they're like, nah. Like, this whole $15 an hour deal. They're like, yeah, somebody's about to get $15 an hour. And I'm like, I believe in a capitalistic society. I believe the entrepreneurs will win over the employees.
So I think so too. I've tried to have this debate.
It's a hard thing to say, and I'm pro-employee on so many things, Chris. We talk about it. I'm like, you're not going to win the fight when look, balance sheet. What's your largest expense, Chris?
Labor.
But a computer, like this cell phone, what's this considered on the balance sheet?
It's an asset because it's technology that you own, right?
Right. So it's an asset. So the cell phone is an asset. The person is an expense. Now we can argue whether that's right or wrong. I've never liked that, just by the way. But when businesses are looking at it, expenses are things you cut, assets are things you add. So there's a psychological framework that these businesses run around you and your labor.
I always struggle with the conversation because I am so much on the entrepreneur side. I really struggle with the conversation of what's it called? A livable wage, right? It's
the entrepreneur's responsibility.
Yeah, like it's our job to make sure that you can live properly. Like, I really struggle with that. And yes, I believe in people. I want the best for people, but I also understand in the way that this works, like, it's not my responsibility to make sure that you live. It's my responsibility to make sure this company continues to run, and people are a huge part of that, and customers are a huge part of that, so that we can continue to deliver what we need to do to this economy, yada, yada. But like, people thinking that like, oh, we're gonna just keep asking for more and more money, and these businesses are supposed to pay more and more money. It's not the way it works. We will quickly get you out of here. Like I'm literally trying to think of technologies in all different types of industries that can help like eliminate people, because it's not the way that this thing is going to play out.
It's like, so like, you know, my new gig, right? Like I'm looking at like the whole business much more, right? And it's a good thing too. I love it. I'm like learning. So if I did 2 years and Chris is like, get up out of here, I'm like, cool, man. That was like the best 2 years, bro. Like you don't even understand. Like, cool, I'll pay you. I'll give you some of the money back, right? Because I'm learning so much, right? Yeah. And on top of like the big corporate stuff, right, seeing it like real big, and now like in like every little thing, like you move something, right? You can see if you poke it, it goes out the other side on this one. Whereas in corporate America, you poke it and you're like, I don't know what happened.
I got caught up in the in the web of management.
Yeah, exactly. All the layers, right? Director, senior director, this director, that, managing director. I'm done with that. But like, I look at like things money wise, and I have to say, okay, first, well, the owner is taking all the financial risk, right, for this, right? And they're taking and they have to be the most vulnerable, because they have to trust all these people to make it happen, right? They have to hire the right people, the whole deal. So they should be rewarded for taking on all the risk. Because like, even me, if I lose my job, I just take my degrees and my education, I go to Google and say, you got something for me? Like, the CEO can't just be like, you got a new business for me? Like, that doesn't happen, right? Like if all the money is gone, they want the business again, they got to save up, they got to stack money together, recreate it, rehire. So there's a lot of obligation from the CEO perspective. So they should be rewarded, period. Businesses that do it the right way say, well, I'm going to profit first, right? Like, meaning like, what is it as a business I want to earn on my investment? Sure. If it's 10%, if it's 20%, whatever, then I say, all right, if I want to earn this, what's the cost of this? Will the market be okay with my price if I earn this profit margin? And if all those things say yes, then you're like, cool, this is what I can charge. Then you got to get people to say, okay, well, I got to also add in labor and commission or whatever else, and then thus creates price. Bro, most businesses fail. I'll put a side note. They don't know how to properly price. I wasn't really the greatest at it, but now pricing, bro, is almost everything. Like, you know, it's so many things. And we've talked about this like sidebar before. People don't know how to properly price. But I digress. I don't want to get off into that because I'll go on a tangent now. Yeah. But
I've learned that point, just real quick. I've learned that 100% just by being in the food world, right? Like food costs is the essential of understanding how much does it cost to make this? How much do I need to sell it for? Right. Yeah. And what will the market pay for? I can't charge $36 for my burger because it's not the market's not going to buy a $36 burger unless it's a Wagyu.
Unless you've done something marketing play on it.
Yeah, because in general they would go to Five Guys or somewhere else and get this if it's the same quality type burger, right?
Yes.
So
you got to price it. But so what happens is when employees are like, I need more money, the business owner says, okay, well, let me go look at the market. Am I paying you what the market says I should be paying you?
Well, no, let me just cut you off, because what do you mean? Like, just pay your CEO less. Just pay you less.
Who's taking the risk here?
That's what
right. Like, who's taking the risk here? Like, there's this thing like of you're the business owner. You should be able to, like, if you took 10% less, it's different than me as an employee taking 10% less. True. However, it's still 10% of what me and you are used to.
I just hear that argument a bunch, and it comes more on the back of corporate. I get it, but like, honestly, it comes on the back of anyone that runs the business and employees asking for more money. They're always like, well, you take less, or pay your managers less, or the CEO should take less, or whatever the case is. And I'm just like,
maybe Like maybe that is the look. Again, it comes down to the market. Like there's an external customer and there's an internal customer. Your internal customer is your employees. That's how I look at it. Like these people got to be happy. Your external, maybe it does make sense to say, hey guys, like we need to shave a little bit off our bonus because we need to keep these people. The market is demanding we keep these people, we pay them well. Like with my company now, we pay above market. We've always paid above market, but guess what? We also above market on our prices, right? Like we're not like racing to the bottom on price. Like that's not what we do. Like we're like above market on price, but we're also above market on the quality of employee we have. So we okay with paying that, right? But if you are working at a company who's racing to the bottom on price, you're not going to get paid that much. Like that's what I'm trying to get to. Like if think of the company you're at, if they're always like, we just want to be cheaper, where do you think that's coming from? The CEO, the leadership are not going to always take that. It's going to come from predominantly labor. Or if their company's innovative, they got better technology so they can take it from that, okay. But you better hope you got a company that's thinking like that. You better hope you got a company that's kind of processing like that, because most of the time they just say, no, we're not going to pay you. One of my good friends just said they put think of this. This is like one of the dumbest things ever, but it's normal. They said, hey, there's a pay wage freeze because of COVID. All right. So here goes my fun pay wage freeze. So he has an employee that can get promoted. There's a critical position that needs to be filled at their store. This employee qualifies to get promoted. Even losing their position, it's okay. You'd rather have this one than that one because it's a critical position. This position was paying, I don't know what it was, like $20 an hour. Just use that for an example. They were at $15 an hour. They were like, you can get promoted, but we're only gonna pay you $15 an hour. And they were like, because we're on a wage freeze. So even with promotions, it's a wage freeze. So then they were like, well, but what if we hire somebody from the outside? They're like, we're gonna pay them $20 an hour. And they were like, but you won't, because we're on a wage freeze. Like we don't believe that you're valuable enough to make that, but somebody on the market potentially to get them, we'll go ahead and pay them that. Now, why would you, that doesn't make sense. But if you think about it, they have a formula. Keep current expenses down. We've already built in the future new expense, and they manage it. Now, it's not a perfect example, but this is how businesses are looking at things. They may be willing to spend some more money on marketing. They may be willing to spend some more money on technology and research and development and this. But usually when it comes down to labor, they will fight and claw with that spend. And what are you going to do about it? Like, that's like we're just being honest, like right now. Like, this is like real. Everybody's not like my company. We had Chris Donnelly on. Like, everybody's not like, let's reassess to make sure we keep paying people. If we need to pay them more. Everybody's not doing that. Like, most companies are not doing that.
Most companies won't do it because, again, the only things that they can control really are going to be labor and certain costs, certain expenses that they have. But labor is going to be the biggest one. So this is basic, right? This is basic. Just like in your personal financial life, you have two options: raise your income or lower your expenses. If you need to like really understand your personal financial life, that's the first place you go. What bills? All right, what's unnecessary? What do I not need in my personal expenses? Where are we overspending? Right? And that's the first thing you look at. And that's the same thing businesses do. It just so happens that labor piece is normally
the first thing they look at.
The first thing they look at because it's the biggest one. So like, all right, well, where can we
get this job done with less people?
That's it. Can we shave? Can we trim? Can we did it? So like, but the crazy thing is like now every company almost is running at some shortage. Like in all industries. I have friends that are nurses, shortages. I have friends that are in restaurants, shortages. Your business now, shortage, right? Like there's construction, all of it, shortages, tons of them. The question is, right, are you going to retool to get yourself back in that position to become more valuable, because that's the key in this conversation, right? We're not putting people down or thinking that you're not worth anything if you're in are you valuable to the marketplace?
Yeah.
You will get paid in accordance to how much value you bring to the marketplace. If you think
it's perceived
more
value, like, let's make sure, because you might believe I'm super valuable, but if the market doesn't perceive your value to be that, it's not that. Like, that's just like, I mean, that's the hard truth. Like, it's perceived value.
And that's anything that you are trying to grow. Like, think of the musician, the artist that's like, I'm good, but then they put out songs and the market doesn't tell them that they're good. Then technically, like, you probably got some things you got to clean up, right? Like, if they're not vibing with your music, if you haven't gotten in front of the right people, whatever it is, but like, that's not what the market's saying. So same thing, right? Like, do you deserve $28 an hour? Do you deserve to make $300,000 a year for whatever value you think you're bringing? Or do you need to raise your value prop as a person, as an employee, if you're going to stay in that lane? And that's where we go back to, we have to understand what's happening in the landscape of our economy and financial life and all those things, and then put a solid plan in place. If it means you have to retool, if it means you have to learn how to get another skill so you can become more valuable to that company so they will pay you more, that's a better route to go than just complaining about needing to get paid more money, and then B, like we were just saying at the very beginning, hoping and wishing that something's going to pay off for you in the stock market or some random investment. Right? Those are not strategies to actually prepare and protect yourself moving forward. And that's why we want to be able to give you this, because again, I see this happening. I know T sees a bunch of this happening, and you're just not prepared. You're just not prepared for what's up ahead. And we have to get prepared. We have to.
You got to get prepared, you guys. And if, let's say you are prepared, you are running this race, always tweak it. Like, keep learning, keep growing, right? This is a long game. You don't know when you're going to go. So why not act like you got 80 years, like got a 100-year plan? Like I told you a few years ago, I put out a 100-year plan. Like, like I started building it. Like, it's like, let me work it through, right? What do I want to have? And it does give you, I'm not saying hope is a bad thing, but hope isn't a strategy. But hope does give you, the motivation, right?
You need it. Like, you need hope, you need optimism.
Yeah. It's just, you can't like be like, that's it. Like, I only got hope. Like, I hope this works.
Right.
No, like, you got to go out there, and there's going to be some things you're going to swing for the fences for, and you are going to be like, I hope this works. But if it doesn't, then what? Right? Like, that's what we're talking about. So I think this is a good one, man. Like, the market, we know the market's going to, the economy already had a hiccup. It could possibly have another hiccup. Generally speaking, the stock market will have a correction.
Absolutely.
Of, I'm going to call it at least 10% over the next 6 to probably 8 months as things are going, or year max. It's going to have it, and this is natural. It happens. The S&P is running extremely hot right now. You got meme stocks that are causing chaos. I talk about it. I had a friend. I've had friends that said, like, they've lost money because like even crypto. You can go back and there's articles about meme stocks in the stock market causing crypto to have hiccups because banks and some hedge funds are unraveling their positions to cover on the other side. Like, you can literally track some of this stuff. So everybody, like, the meme stock thing, it's not going away. There's always going to be a new sexy one on the market. And I'll say this, if you're going to play it, this is like gambling. Like, let me just be the one to say it. I have thousands of dollars invested in it because I can. It's gambling, right? It's gambling. If you're okay with taking 10, 20, 30% dips and 50% ups and all that stuff, but really, if you're like, oh, I'm trying to get rich or I'm trying to get it, this ain't it. Like, talk to Chris. There's other ways where you can go, like, get the up without taking the downs. There's products, and you just take the up of the stock market without eating the downs and grow, and it's secure, it's protected. It ain't sexy, But at the end of the day, you're good. So
that's it.
I'm endorsing Chris. You don't have to say it. Go talk to Chris. Like, there are products out here that you can take the upside of the market without taking all the risk of the down. And I can legally say that there are products out there. Personally, Chris is more on it than even I am. So you can talk to Chris about that.
There are, and I'm glad you said it, T. Also understanding, because it's something I told you last night, that like it's having a strategy for all of your money, short term, mid-term, long term, right? That's actually the key. There's making sure that you are set up as a foundation to understand kind of where you want your money to be. And right now, what I told you last night, and I'll tell everyone that's listening, most people are putting too much into their midterm fund. A midterm investment is a 2 to 8 year investment. That's what most people are playing in right now. They're playing in investments that are under 5 years. They're playing in the stock market. They're trying to hit a meme stock. They're doing something in real estate that's less than 5 years. And when the bulk of your money is going just to those things, and then you start neglecting a proper emergency fund, and you're neglecting any compound interest that you don't have to touch, meaning your long-term 15+ year strategy, when you start neglecting those things, you're gambling, you're too risky. You're too risky, because as soon as, like we said, as soon as the economy, has another hiccup and you lose the job, what happens? What inevitably happens is you will have to start pulling out of your investments slowly but surely. So is that really an investment? If you have to pull it out and you can't keep it growing and continue the compound interest,
it's a savings account.
It's a future savings account. Yeah, it's a future spending account for you, because you're not set up. You're not set up properly. But if you had 6 to 12 months worth of your income socked away, labeled emergency, you can put some money away long term. You're doing your dollar cost averaging, your $100, $300, $400 a month. That's just going there. And then all the extra monies that you have going into some midterm, then in the event you have a hiccup, the job flips over, something crazy happens in your investments, you're still fine. You can still be locked in on a plan, instead of like everyone else that we're seeing right now that's scrambling, that can't stomach the market and can't stomach all the things that are happening. It's because they technically aren't set up properly. They're really hoping that this will be the thing that sets them up. And so there's too much on the line. There's too much on the line. Once you have those other things set up, then you can. And again, the best part is, and I'm not even somebody that's like, keep saving money. No, stop saving money at a certain point and invest it all. But that 6 months worth of income is your stopping point. It's like, once you get there, that's your new zero. Don't save another dime in the bank. Don't put another dime in a savings account. Invest every other dollar after that. But you can't do it in like before that point, because you'll always be at risk, right? You'll always be at risk when the market goes, when the job happens, all that stuff. You got 2 months. You got 2 months to live on. Now you're freaking out, right? Now you got a car payment. You still got a mortgage, all these things, and you only had 2 months worth of savings. Like, now what? Now you're pulling out of the investments. Now you're dipping into the 401k or IRA or whatever the long thing you had was. You're taking penalties. You're paying taxes. All the shit's unraveling, right? Like, people don't understand that. That's how this thing plays out. And we're trying to give you the heads up before you get punched in the mouth and like don't understand that that's what happens, And look, for some people, and I know even myself, like having 6 months of your income, like that's like, usually you get 6 months of your income, you're like, I'm about to go buy a house. Exactly.
Like that's what most people do. They're like, I'm about to go buy a house. He's talking about I got 30, 40, 50 grand, 60 grand up in here.
I joke about this when I teach people, because I work with people in their 40s and 50s that still don't have any savings, like very, very little savings. And I said, no shame, no guilt, just understand we've actually never been taught how to save. We actually think that all of our savings should be spending. We actually like that's
like I just said, if you buy a house, if you get 30 grand, you like, that's a house, it's a down payment.
Exactly, right? We don't even have the mindset of like, no, that's my comfort. Like, I'm cool now. Now everything that comes in after that, absolutely, let's get a plan for it. We literally think if we get to a certain amount, we should invest it, or we should spend it, or we should buy a house, or that's how we think. It's like, No. Like, you got to have a foundation that's above zero so you don't go into debt when things happen. So
yeah, but that's the thing. We don't live in the if something can happen world. We live in the like make money, spend money, make money, spend money, make money, spend money, and then when we have hiccup, we're like, whoa, like, you know, and that's the ones that get caught. So we say all this to say we started with the market collapse, what we should do. If you have questions about this stuff, like I endorse Chris, like go talk to Chris, right? Like he's licensed, you know, I have a license as well, but he's doing it every single day, right? And so like there's things that you may want to feel comfortable talk to me about. That's fine. I'm just going to refer you to Chris, just FYI. Like, you know, like, so that's just how that works. But these are like real legitimate conversations. They're not the sexiest. Hopefully they've been entertaining, but in reality, like you got to do something. It's going to happen. Like, I'm not trying to scare people. You know, I don't work off of fear. However, there's going to happen. There's going to, you know, you got to be prepared. Like I'm already like with the thousands that I got that's gambled away in the next 30 days or so, once this thing like finalizes, I'm like, hey, Chris, like I need to reassess some stuff from the last time we looked at it. Yeah. Like, that's just real. Like, hey, CP, I just made this money. It's going to go to my taxes. Like my tax guy, our college teammate, like CP, like I just made like X number of dollars. What do I need to do?
What's this look like for my tax bill next year?
Yeah, like this is what I'm making. You saw my money last year. This is where I'm at with my investments. This is what I'm holding. Like, what do I need to do right now? Like, get yourself people around you. So if you do get a hit, you don't just blow it. You put it away and you get yourself moving forward. So I'll leave that just as my own personal. I endorse Chris, CP. We're gonna have CP on the podcast soon too, right? Like, you know, but like these are things that could, you know, really you need to have in place if you do have something where you know you're about to get some money, you know you're about to get a bump, you know you have some things happening, or you are like ready to, you're in that midterm of investing and stuff, like get the right people around you, right information. Like that's what's going to help you, right? Because you may not have the right thing and you get the bump and then you get to set everything up the right way. Now let's start. And you're in a good spot. Like you got lucky, not lucky, but you know, you did some things that put you in the right spot. And now let's go.
It only takes one. Like, you know, we say that in the entrepreneur world, like for people that build business, it only takes one business.
Oh my God. Mark Cuban, start it over. You can be terrible, hit it, and then be like, all right, Chris, like, can we set this up now? Like, all right, I didn't need 10 years to build it. I did it in 7 months.
Yeah.
But here we go. Here we are now.
Here we are now. Here's how we play this out, right? Like that's all it takes. And so, you know, I'm glad we can end on this, T. Like, it's really important to work with financial people. That's one of the biggest things that I see is like everyone thinks they're now an expert in money. That's what people think. Like, just because, you know, you might have picked a great stock 6 months ago, or you might have had a nice investment, or right, you might have heard something or followed your gut and did something. Now you believe you're an expert in money. And, you know, again, we can all get lucky. We can all go to Vegas and hit it big once or twice. And right.
My wife just hit at the casino. We went to dinner at the casino. We were waiting. And she's like, oh, let's play. I was like, cool. We should put money on roulette. And her damn number hit.
There you go. See, look at that. Right? Like it can always happen. But now if Ebby was like, I'm a roulette queen, like this is all I do. It's like
she was like, I don't ever want to play again. I won. I want to walk away. Like I was like, good job, baby. Good job. Because your husband would have played again.
Knowing you, that's right. You're like, hey, let's take that off. Let's go. It's a free one, right?
Yeah, we ate dinner that night. See? We paid for the dinner plus some. Like, I mean, obviously she hit on the roulette table.
So I mean, like that is true. Yeah, that is my fear for people, is that there's too much of that has happened over the past 18 months that has caused this, like, I know what I'm doing. Yeah, I know what I'm doing. Okay, well, when it dips, just buy the dip. Yeah. Like, right? Like, I heard somebody on social say, like, it's always cool to buy the dip until that thing keeps dipping, right? Like, then you're like, all right, am I still buying this thing? But it's just working with financial people, right? Getting around the people that aren't just gambling with you, right? You're not just all sitting in the casino together. It's you get some outside opinions. Again, you read some of these articles. These articles are popping up. That's why T and I were talking about it, is because these market scares, and this is what these investors are saying, and this is what's happening on this side. We read those things, we look at them. And so we can give you that perspective. for you to really make sure that you're doing the right thing and have your money protected. But talk to somebody financially, right? Just have more money conversations. It'll help. But that's it for this one, guys. Hopefully we gave you some things to kind of think about. Again, not leading with fear. However, this is a reality, right? What goes up must come down. There will be corrections. How prepared are you for it? Do you need to retool? Do you need to learn more about money? Do you need to get some investments out? Like, what is it that you need to do to start protecting some of the things you've built? It's just an important conversation. Get around people that think about it differently too. If everyone's telling you the same things, find the other information. It's going to help. All right. So until next week, guys, we're going to sign off this week. Again, share this. Hit the thumbs up, subscribe on YouTube. We want you to give this to other people so that we can hear their perspective as well. But we're signing off. T.
I got a bang, bang. Yeah, we got to get a bang, bang in after today. That was a good one.
Got to get one.
Hey, hit us up. Hit the subscribe button. I don't know where it's at. It's going to be somewhere up here. We got to get better at that. Like somewhere. I pointed at it at some point, right? Right. You do the whole deal. Enjoy yourself. People that are listening to the podcast, like, what are they talking about?
I know, right?
Right. So, well, we appreciate you guys. Subscribe, share it. Don't be selfish. Don't just consume content. Don't tell nobody else about it.
That's right.
Let other people know. If you think somebody can find value in something that we said, even if it's a little part, just tell them where the clip is. Send it to them because that's what's most important. Help somebody out. Help one. What does it say? Take one, help one.
Each one, teach one.
There you go. Whatever. Yeah. Each one, teach one. You know the thing.
That's it.
Pass it forward.
Pass it on, pass it forward. But until next week, guys, we're signing off. Love you guys.
Peace.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Perspective Podcast. We hope this conversation made you think a bit deeper, gain some insight, or even possibly even gain a brand new perspective. If you did enjoy it, do us a favor, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, Anchor, or anywhere else you stream. Leave a review to help more people experience these conversations and potentially change their perspective as well. And lastly, as always, T and I want you to connect with us. So follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. You can find us just by using our names. And there we get a chance to hear your perspective. Until next time, God bless.